Product placement. Spin the wheel, dude. What do we got?
Will I feel better about my life right now? Oof. My sources say no.
Oh.
Listen, I'm having an existential crisis right now.
Tell me about it. What's up?
Well, I've been doing hot yoga and my face is breaking out. And I hate my life right now when my face is all broken out. Like I've got rosacea. And welcome to the channel. Welcome to the podcast. I'm Lindsay Coulter. These are my pimples.
I'm Tim Musa. My camera's really hot. I'm going to turn that down in a minute.
Your camera's hot tamale. You want me to turn it down?
Do you want to crank that thing a little bit? Just the aperture on top.
Oh my gosh.
So it's on the lens. Yeah. So it should be on like F4 or something. Bring it down. Down. Go down more.
You wanted it at F16? That's as far as she goes.
As far as she goes? Okay. Whatever. It's fine. Looks better. I'll take it. Let's back up a bit. There we go. Right here. I'm happy with that. Looks
You
good.
look really handsome.
Listen, we're having a day, having a week.
I kind of
week
forgot that
in
we were
March.
filming, hence why I'm in a hoodie for our
Get on
second.
that mic, dude.
Our second. Our second episode, I'm in a hoodie yet again. You might see these hoodies a lot because the room that we film in is also my stock room for Georgian Bay, which is my clothing line. So yeah, you can actually buy this sweatshirt here. You want to do a little product placement?
Yeah, do a little product placement.
Here, we're going to make my day get better.
It's right
Let's
here.
sell.
This is the center. So Lindsay here is fashioning the Georgian Bay Yacht Club tan sweater. They were established in 2017. It's got a great patch on the back. If you're into patches, we have featured cross oars. We have some lovely waves, a bottle of wine, a glass of wine, poured from a bottle of wine, and some mountains. If you're part of the Georgian Bay Yacht Club, you need to have this sweater in your collection. Otherwise, what are you doing with your life? Go to georgianbay.ca.
CO. georgianbay.co. So I was wearing this in black on our last week's episode. They are actually mine. I don't just pull them off of the racks. Well, if I do pull them off of the racks, then they become mine.
Yeah.
But I love an oversized hoodie, especially on days when my face is freaking out.
Not feeling it.
You know what? This is actually interesting. I'm just going to jump right into this one.
Okay.
If you're a woman who also makes content for a living, let me just say life is like at least 30% harder to get started.
Yeah.
Because I assume you just showered, put the stuff in your hair.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then you were like, what the heck? Let's record a podcast.
You wash my face?
Yeah, that's a shower. That's part of the shower. Maybe slap a little moisturizer on if you're really feeling adventurous as a man.
My bag, I left it.
He didn't even put moisturizer
It's
on.
in my smaller photo shoot
So
bag.
I do like a 12-step skincare plan.
Yeah.
I did a full face of makeup this morning,
Twice a day.
like that was just to do client calls. I did that. And then I forgot, in between my client calls, we're going to do some recording, and I would have done a different level of makeup for that. And I probably would have done something differently with this. But you know what? I'm in the era of showing up regardless. So here we are.
That's great. I'm proud of you. You should feel proud of you too. This is amazing. You're a busy human being.
I feel fine about it. I feel completely fine about it. Good. There's just way worse things I could do. And we're here to talk about podcasts and not about how hard it is to be a woman.
So if you're new here, welcome. It's not usually this interesting. Sometimes it is.
It is usually this interesting, just not usually this obnoxious.
This is usually as good as this gets. So I apologize. And also you're welcome because this is real life. And if you're a photographer tuning in for the first time, welcome. This is Shoot Your Shot Podcast where we take your calls, DMs on Instagram, and we answer your questions and give advice based on the 20 plus years of experience we have combined. So we're going to jump right into it. This is from a listener, viewer, caller.
And this is Timothy Musa.
Oh, I'm Timothy Musa.
I'm Lindsay Coulter, and this is my rosacea.
This is us.
This is us.
Port Weinstein. Welcome.
Life. You know what? And I'm also just going to touch on this because I know I posted this on my Instagram. Yes. And if you didn't see it, I just need to say it again. If you see something on someone's physical person that isn't a thing that you could fix in 30 seconds.
Or you're not a doctor.
You know what I mean? Like, and I'm talking like, you got a little something in your teeth. That's fixable in 30 seconds. And you should be a friend and you should help somebody out there. But if we're talking like, you have really bad acne or your face is really red, which is a thing I keep on getting like all the time to the point that I'm like, what's going on in the water that makes people feel like they can say something? And then Tim had a woman come up to him in the airport and say, have you ever tried like some products for your birthmark that you were literally born with?
She was It was wild.
Like she's got a garage full of MLM products that she's trying to sell. And she's like, you know what would be really a perfect use for my Monate is
Randoms at the airport.
I don't know. Yeah, this random guy at the airport is gonna get suckered in. The funny thing is that I think like do you think that we don't look in the mirror?
Do you think I don't know this?
Do you think I'm not aware?
I don't see this face all the time?
I literally was in the middle of a hot yoga class. Well, at the very end of a hot yoga class, and this woman goes, oh, your face is so red.
Yeah, we're in a 120 degree.
It's a million degrees. And also it's mirrored. I'm aware. Thank you for now reminding me that you're aware. So anyways, this is just my public service announcement that if you see something, you don't always have to say something. Okay, cool. Let's get into it.
First question is from Native Oak Studio. I think she's local. When is the best time of year to raise your prices? This is a great question. We get this all the time from people who, people you mentor, the people you mentor, people, just random questions on Taylor's YouTube videos. Like it's a very common question we get as people who give advice in the industry. And is there one answer to this?
Okay. I think maybe we should even expand on the question.
Okay.
I really appreciate you sending your question in. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. I think her name is Rebecca. I think in the GM, the TM. I make sure everyone's like cool with us sharing their name and
that we're going to just like put them on blast, especially if you're going to send us something salty.
If you want to go anonymous, go anonymous.
This
She's happy with us
space.
sharing. Yeah.
But thank you so much. So best time of year to raise your prices is a really good question. I think, usually raising your prices comes down to like a why are you wanting to what's inspiring you to feel like you should be increasing your pricing. If you're feeling you should be increasing your pricing because like life's expensive as hell and you need to figure out a way to pay bills and sustain your lifestyle, I totally get that. And I don't think that there's a time. You just do that. That just you just go. You just say I know that I deserve to make more and I believe that I could make more. Yeah. And that's pretty much all I ever, usually comes down to for me.
That's great. That's a great excuse. It's your own business. You get to run it the way you want to do.
Galen Weston changes the prices of groceries every day.
I was just thinking about Breadgate. I was just thinking about the bread.
Galen Weston said bread used to be $3. Now it's $11. So what?
How much is gas? Oh, everything's up. Let's make
it cost what we feel like it needs to cost.
One thing I will say for me, personally, I tend to raise my prices around the same time every year. And that way
what time?
Usually the summer, like dead of summer.
When should we change our... Oh, wait, not like it can't be a when. Should I change my prices?
Now. That's a good question to ask the old 8-ball here.
Outlook. Good.
Oh, there you go.
Now's the time.
8-ball said so. But I find that I do it every year. And I give my clients who are prospective, who are on the fence with hiring me, whether they hire me or not, let them know that, hey, prices go up in so many weeks, days. If you want to make a choice, we'll do it now. Get you locked in at this pricing.
Yeah, it is a very motivating thing for clients that are on the line.
And also, I find I raise my prices when I learn something new. So I introduced Super 8 film into my packages for my wedding videos.
It's going to be more expensive. I'm more skilled now.
I didn't make it an option. I just made it a mandatory thing that I wanted to do because I like doing it. And so I said, okay, well, that costs more, and that costs more mentally
actual
on my day.
Physical dollars.
Everything goes up, money. And that's what I did. So I raised my prices because I added a resource or an asset or a service to my package. And that's another great way to do it. If you like go to a workshop or you learn a new technique or you upgrade some gear, that's also another excuse to do it. You can find an excuse. That's kind of what we're aiming at.
Absolutely.
Here. There's no reason not to.
No, I think, every time that I've ever raised my prices, I've always had that like, oh, is this going to be the last booking I get now? Like,
the anxiety.
Did I maybe go too far? So, when it comes to raising your pricing, it will be emotional. Anybody that tells you it's not an emotional decision is a liar.
Yes.
Anybody that tells you like, oh, I just looked at like my cost of goods and I looked at my hourly spend, and like no one that started using Imagine decreased their prices. Let me tell you, nobody that all of a sudden removed outsourcing and now all has robots doing their editing for 5 cents an image.
No one's passing the savings on.
No one's like, oh, I'm going to decrease my pricing. No. It is an inherently emotional thing. It's personal. It's based on when you feel like you need to make more money, when you feel like you deserve to make more money.
Yeah.
And my most unhinged time that I decided to make an increase in prices.
Go on.
I was downtown Toronto shooting. So Tim and I live about an hour from Toronto, for those of you who are not from the area. And I had somehow attracted the worst client. And it's not always pricing related, but in this scenario, it was absolutely pricing related.
Okay.
They were a very fancy client that had a really high-end venue and wanted a good photographer, but obviously wanted a good price on it.
Yeah.
They nickel and dimed me at every single part of the negotiation. And like, that's on me. I chose to allow that to happen. I could have said no, but I wanted the booking. So I accepted it at those prices. Any discount that was available, they took. Any avenue where they could discount their package, they did. Then all of a sudden, I'm driving an hour and a half to downtown Toronto for their engagement shoot. And she tells me she has booked a venue for the engagement shoot and rented out 3 dresses.
No.
So
the equivalent of
like
double what she saved on you.
Yeah.
So
now we're realizing, okay, you value things and not services. You value stuff and not people.
Yep.
And I'm feeling taken advantage of. And anytime that you feel taken advantage of by clients who you willingly accepted, that's on us, honestly. There should have been no decision making in my pricing that was based on how much she was going to spend on her outfit that day.
Yeah.
If I show up to a wedding and a bride has spent 10 grand on her dress and 5 grand on, jewelry, shoes, whatever the extra things are, and I start feeling bitter about that because I didn't charge enough, well, whose fault is that?
Who's that on?
C'est moi. So on that drive into Toronto, or drive home from Toronto, I went to a coffee shop and I changed my pricing.
It's right there.
Literally just jacked it by $1,000 because
so
I was like,
a good motivator too if you need to change your pricing.
Then I realized I have clients that can't afford it.
Okay.
The clients that I'm now attracting could afford more.
Yep.
I wanted to leave a little bit of wiggle room for any potential discounts that people may have gotten because I do offer discounts for certain venues. If for some reason they got like a referral discount or something that I had going on at the time, I wanted to give myself like a little bit of wiggle room for it.
Yeah.
So I increased my prices by $1,000. And I remember for like the few weeks after that, I was like, oh no, like $1,000 is a pretty steep jump.
It is.
We're talking like 4 to 5 or 5 to 6. Like that's a significant jump. So that was definitely an emotional moment. And I think that you feel a lot less, confident in your decision when it's made purely based on emotion and not necessarily based on facts. To go back to the specifics of this question, what the best time of year is, I would say you want to do this at the time of year when you are booking the most for the coming season or coming year, like whatever your timing is. Okay. You don't want to look back so this is so different for everybody, but say that your most popular booking time is January. Yeah. You don't want to look back in March and realize like I really wanted to be making an extra $500 or $1,000 on all of those weddings. That's going to be a little bit of a bummer.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a best time.
There's no best time, but it's when it feels right to you and you feel like you've leveled up in some way or you need to level up in some way to get out of the market you're currently in and you want to go
There's
to
at
the
least no
next
industry standard.
There's no industry. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And also if you are entering a new market, this might be rare, but it might be time to like, depending on where you're going in the world, you'd move. You might need to like lower your prices or trying to match what the market will allow based on where you're at, which is an interesting thing. It's a different story altogether. Wait for someone else to ask that question because that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, should I ever consider lowering my prices? Yeah. It's really interesting. Sam Hurd and I have talked about this, like both in person and on Threads, my favorite. Honestly, I'm not going to stop talking about Threads until every single one of you is on Threads.
I'm on Threads.
We got to bring Shoot Your Shot to Threads.
Oh, yeah.
But our good friend Sam Hurd, incredibly talented photographer and educator, one of his favorite things to say is like, people always tell me like, you should increase your prices. And how would they know?
Yeah.
Valid. What I think it comes from is because I think his starting rate is, or his average booking is $5,000.
Yeah.
I think his average booking is $5,000, which also is in USD. Very comfortable Canadian money. Oh my goodness. I would be loving a $7,500 average booking. He's an incredibly talented photographer with a really strong following. And people are probably, other photographers specifically, are looking at him thinking, you could charge more.
He's coming to Canada Photo Summit, isn't he?
He certainly is. Our boy Sam.
We're going to try and get him right here. This will be Sam talking here.
Yeah, so Sam's coming to Canada Photo Summit, I'm sure he'll talk about AI. That's his jam.
Yeah.
Right
We'll
now.
tee it up with questions closer to, so you can add some questions to the feed. And
Oh,
we'll
yeah,
ask
that would
them
be
to him.
awesome. If you guys have questions for any of our speakers
Absolutely.
at Canada Photo Summit, we will make sure that we actually do that this time, unlike our WPPI. It's not Las Vegas. We won't be screaming.
No, we'll be fine.
But Sam says he gets this question from people all the time saying, or not question so much as a statement, you should increase your prices.
Right.
And he says, how do you know how comfortable I am?
Yeah, you don't know anything about me.
You don't know how many weddings I'm shooting. You don't know what my strategy is. Like, I used to charge a really small amount of money for weddings, but I was shooting 60 weddings a year.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
That's what grew my business. That
That's what
strategy,
grew your
that strategy of
talents.
charging a small amount, but
Absolutely.
shooting a ton, built this huge portfolio
Yep.
that made it really easy for me to shoot at a ton of different venues, to then curate a more specific luxury brand when I wanted to. But
Yep.
I was also quite happy just shooting like normal people's weddings. And that's always been Sam's thing. Like, he likes to be able to be attainable for anyone. He doesn't want to only be attainable for like doctors and lawyers, although those are also great clients, but like not only in that space. So it's totally a personal thing. But what he said that he noticed is that a lot of people listened to the recommendations of educators and of people online and maybe their own ego. And they were like, oh, I went too far.
Yeah.
And I increased my prices way too much without anybody actually knowing. That's why when I tell someone you should increase your prices, I genuinely do mean it, because I look at their prices from knowing their market a little bit, or at least being aware of their market based on what they've told me, knowing their skill level and knowing the skill level of their competitors, knowing what their marketing looks like, knowing all of that. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's not a should, but you could, is basically what I'm trying to say.
Lindsay's never like aiming at a number, like you need to make it this much money. She's just saying increase
I'm just saying you could.
to match
Would you
the
like to?
perceived value of what you have.
Would you like to? Because you could, you know. But if somebody took that a little too far and now they've increased their prices, I think that there probably are a lot of photographers over the next little bit that are going to be dialing it back based on the saturation of the market, based on maybe they don't need to make that much money because they're not traveling as much anymore. Maybe they've got kids. Like, your situation maybe has changed. Not that kids is making your life less expensive, but I think it's a very, very personal thing. And whenever it comes down to pricing, it's always a good idea to book a one-on-one with a mentor. Always a good idea. If you're really, really unsure, either that or just don't be afraid to give it a shot and then change your mind. Yeah. Have you ever downgraded your packages?
I've changed things around and reduced the offerings within the packages.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you made them less expensive, but they were also less beefed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
fair. So I've adjusted
fair.
things that way. I've never gone down, though, which is nice. Yet.
It's always a fear of mine that I'm going to have to do that.
Yeah.
Just based on like relevance. Like, oh, well, you're not at the top of the pile anymore. You're going to have to come down. But
yeah.
The nice thing about the wedding industry specifically is that you don't have a lot of repeat customers. So nobody's going to really know. It's not like they're going to say, well, wait a second, that package 6 months ago was this. The only people that will know are
the ones who booked you or thinking about booking you now.
Or like wedding planners, like vendor partners, right? And then they probably aren't paying that close attention.
Thank you for this question.
Great question.
Hope we helped you in some way. Lindsay does mentoring. Reach out to her if you want to.
Oh, yeah.
She'll
That was a
happily look
good
at your
parlay.
life, audit your business, and tell you if it's something you should probably think about doing. This photographer has a second question that they asked, and we're going to get to it right now in the same feed. I thought, let's do 3 questions today.
Let's give it 3.
How soon is too soon to deliver a full wedding gallery to the couple? It seems like if you don't deliver it too soon, they may think you didn't work hard enough. Is there a sweet spot for delivery? Thank you so much. Again, this is from Native Oak Studios on Instagram. How soon is too soon to deliver a full wedding gallery to a couple? There's a lot of AI tools out there, like Imagine, it'll help you edit really quickly.
You could have that thing done in a day.
You have the thing done in a day if you wanted to. And then people maybe look at you and say, clients look at you and say, hey, he didn't spend, or she didn't spend any time on that wedding gallery. What the heck?
Should I deliver my wedding next day?
What's the 8-ball say?
Oh, the 8-ball's right. My reply is no.
Okay.
Yeah, the 8-ball doesn't think that you should send it to a wedding gallery the next day, and we don't think so either. Not the whole thing.
No, previews. Maybe like
Previews?
up to, gosh, I've been getting really wild with the previews lately. It's like 100
Same.
previews. It's like, that's a lot of previews.
I sent a 250 image preview to my last client, and they didn't reply, and I was like sick. Oh,
Come
it happens to me
on.
all the time.
Oh my gosh.
All the time. all the time. All the time.
Listen.
So yeah, actually, for those of you who are sending out galleries and thinking it's because I'm trash and that's why people aren't responding, no, it's because they think that you're good at your job and you must know it.
Yeah.
That's my assumption, at least. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but my personal timeline, I think, is very similar to yours for photo. 4 to 6 weeks is what I usually aim for.
Yep.
My contract allows for up to 8 weeks, which just gives me like a little bit of extra buffer. But I tell my clients like generally around 4 to 6. I could probably do it sooner, but this is keeping into consideration that I'm also running a business throughout that time. It's not like I shot one wedding, nothing is happening in the next 4 to 6 weeks, and then I'm going to deliver that wedding. I could do that in 2 days, right?
Another point to circle back to the pricing question. Lindsay's built out in her packages, if you want rush delivery of editing services, she can get them done within, I think, 5 days or something like that. It's like super quick.
Yeah, so I have preview photos that I do charge for, and I think that charging for preview photos is really important. It reminds your clients what the value is, even if it's a line item that you then discount. So put it into your packages as an option for like $200, $300 for like a next day or 48-hour preview delivery.
Yeah.
Previews should be like 20 to 30 photos, maybe up to 50.
Max.
They should not be hundreds. I don't know who's doing that. Lunatics. Absolute lunatics. It just shows that you did a really poor cull.
You did a full call and you edited 90% of them.
What were you thinking there?
These are nice.
It's too easy with Imagine for me to do a really, really big
really
preview
is.
because basically my workflow is during the wedding reception, I back up my cards that I've shot up until that point, which is about 80% of the wedding.
Yeah.
I call them and then I run them through Imagine.
Yeah.
And then all I have to do is call the final 20% once I get home, run those through Imagine, and that wedding is 80 to 90% done, I would say at that point. It could be done, but now because of Imagine, I am doing like more retouching and removal of blemishes and flyaways.
Stop signs,
and
weird things in the background that maybe you didn't notice the first time or like maybe less of an issue, but they're going to be printing stuff and hanging on a wall. You don't want a stop sign in the backdrop.
Yeah, I'm just providing more of a, I would say, luxury service
Detail
right
service.
off the hop instead of making people tell me which images they'd like to be retouched for only printed products. Now I'm just doing it across the board because I have the time.
Another great psychological reason for delivering around the 4 to 6 week mark, I'm very similar in the way I deliver photos and video, is give people time to decompress from the wedding. It's this massive thing that they've been building up to for sometimes 2-3 years, sometimes 1. Although the last 2 years has been like 6 months. I'm like, what?
That's wild. So wild. Yeah.
People need to decompress and process things in their brains and give some distance to themselves from this wedding day, in my experience. Giving them that time to kind of distance themselves from the day and then come back to it once like the dust is settled is a really healthy way, I think, for people to remember things that are really important.
You kind of want them to miss it.
Yeah.
Right? You want them to miss it a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that the problem with delivering such a large preview, but also B, if you are delivering a wedding gallery too quickly, and I would say 2 weeks is probably too quickly. Even if it's done, I would just say it's just too fast because it's still too fresh in their minds. They remember too many details of the wedding day.
Yeah.
To them, they're not thinking of the photographs being emotional or like art anymore. Now they're thinking of them as being just a document of the day. Like they're thinking of you as a vendor, like the DJ was, right? Like, well, was there not a picture of this that happened? Because they remember it so freshly in their minds.
Exactly.
And now it's like a contract negotiation. Well, can I see more pictures of this? Can I see more pictures of this? Which that just doesn't happen at 4 to 6 weeks because things are just not that fresh in their minds. Yeah. And now they're feeling a sense of gratitude for having these photos because they missed those moments.
And it's nostalgia. It starts to bake itself in. You're like, oh my gosh, this is a part of my life that is firmly in the past. It's no longer something that happened 2 weeks ago or a week ago. This is becoming more of a memories for me. And it's less of a...
checking a box.
That feeling of like I can go back and edit. You know what I mean? There's
no
that
oh my gosh,
that part of your brain where you're like, oh, I can just hit the Control Z and just undo. Like I can undo it. You can undo it. It's a memory at this point, and these photos represent
that day happened.
That day happened, and it's a historical moment set in stone, and it's beautiful. Whatever they get, so they'll be more appreciative, I think, if you wait longer than 2-3 weeks.
Yeah,
to get these
I completely agree with you, and I would say, and like God forbid something did go wrong on their wedding day, which like something goes wrong on everybody's wedding day, you know, rain, timeline, whatever, something's going to go wrong on your wedding day. You don't want the photos to be a little reminder of that until they've had a chance to process that.
Exactly.
So if you're delivering really quickly and they haven't had a chance to go on a honeymoon, go outside, touch grass, decompress a little bit,
pay off the credit card bill,
so they
don't feel like they're still paying for a service. It's done in the past.
If something went wrong, you know, planner did something wrong with the timeline, officiant said the wrong names, I don't know, any number of weird things that goes on, the photos will be linked to that emotion.
Exactly.
Right? And this also kind of brings into question, if something goes wrong on a wedding day, Tim, do you deliver those images? Or
There's
are you
a fire. I'm not delivering that photo unless, you know, it's part of a CNN story that someone wants to like.
I guess it depends on how bad the thing is.
Yeah. What's the tragedy? What's the explosion?
A family member isn't there on time to walk you down the aisle.
Oh, yeah. No, we've seen that, I think. In your case, though, Lindsay, you had a very unique experience where the bride had to be sewn into her dress by a neighbor who was a Syrian refugee during the time when Syria was like, that was a big news story.
Yes, Syria was in like really tumultuous time.
Yes, and there's a lot of immigrants to Canada.
Yeah. And
this became a personal story.
A huge news story.
Of this neighbor of this couple, her dress, I'm going to go back to the 2-shot. The dress was broken, and the neighbor was a seamstress, a seamster?
A master tailor.
A master.
Yeah. It was close. A seamster.
A seamster.
He was a seamster. Tim and I need a break.
Hate myself.
Tim and I need
We're taking a break after this point, but that's a rare case where it's like a positive news story where you'd want to contribute something that.
I think it's always important to take the photo.
Yeah.
I think it's always important to document the moment. What you do with it afterwards is entirely up to you.
Yeah.
I've been a part of some really, really tough situations. I had a bride that was so sick that she couldn't get married.
I was there.
Yeah, like literally so ill.
Yeah.
Didn't stop throwing up.
Nope.
That she couldn't go to her wedding.
Yeah.
And I would say that was the most challenging one for me. We didn't deliver the photos from that section of the day at all.
No.
At all. There was probably an 8-hour section of a 12-hour hire that I have the photos and I will never get rid of them. But that is a part of her life that I'm sure she does not want. I edited and delivered them and I put them online and I told her planner that she was very close with. They're there if she wants them.
They're there.
And I think it's just not my place to say, hey, they're here. Do you want to traumatize yourself over again? Because it was not a small wedding. It was like $150,000 wedding with 200 plus guests. And she was really, really ill, and they were able to do like a marriage license signing in her hotel suite, and she didn't make it to the reception. She didn't make it to any part of it. We did a redo, like we did do a wedding redo. Yeah. But I don't think that those photos were ever downloaded. But I think it's important to take them, one, for posterity, for your own legal purposes, because people do change their minds about what happened on a day. They will. They'll be like, hey, why are there no photos of my kids? And I'm like, your kids weren't there. Do you not remember that? And they're like, no, they were great. They were there. And I'm like, okay, here's the pictures of them physically not being there.
Here's the EXIF data and this timestamps.
They're time-stamped. They didn't walk down the aisle because they were having a meltdown or whatever, right? But like maybe you take a discrete photo of the bride throwing up. Maybe the bride is later going to have a little laugh about it. And she's going to be like, oh, wouldn't that be funny? Yeah. If I was a dick, here's what I would do.
Go for it.
I would have submitted those to Fearless Photographers, and I'd be one of those people with big ass awards on the wall right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Bride in a wedding dress.
Oh, the awards.
Hurling with her makeup artist around her. Turn that shit black and white. Get me some nice sunbeams coming in from the window.
Coffee table book.
Absolutely. Because now I'm like not only documentarian, I'm also taking advantage, which I think is really like the bread and butter. I'm getting myself into hot water here. But there is definitely, I've really gone on a tangent.
We're going off.
Tangento.
Do you want to wrap this one up?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Put a pin in it. We can take a break.
The sweet spot for delivering your wedding photos,
4 weeks.
4 to 6 weeks is really lovely. And I actually would love to hear people's feelings on whether or not you deliver photos that are maybe traumatic.
Comment down below, please.
It totally depends on your style.
Yeah.
Who you are as a person. Should we take a break?
Let's take a break, pay some bills. Lindsay, we give advice all the time on this podcast.
We sure do.
Where can someone go if they want more detailed advice about their business, how they're doing as a photographer? Is there somewhere they can go more in depth and learn from you?
I made an entire course for you.
Tell me about it.
I made a comprehensive course, over 6.5 hours of videos.
Amazing.
It includes digital downloads, including email templates, pricing guides. I've got like pretty much everything you need. If you were like, I'd like one business now, please. That's this one here. So for $279, Better Than Booked is pretty much the best deal you're going to find, I think, on the internet for photography business education. But not only that, your girl's going to give you $100 off as a listener of Shoot Your Shot using the promo code Shoot Your Shot.
All one word.
All one word. Shoot Your Shot. BetterThanBooked.com.
What's that website again?
Oh, it's BetterThanBooked.com. Most photographers fail not because they're not skilled, but because their mindset is wonky. Their mindset is lacking. They are missing the necessary skills to not just exist as a photographer, but to exist as a business owner who wants to thrive financially with a sustainable business.
Right.
Get into limiting beliefs, building habits, productivity, showing up authentically, community and competition. And then we also get into skill sets using the promo code
Shoot Your Shot
on www.betterthanbook.com.
We are going to dive into the next question. This is the juicy question. This is from Anonymous, but it's one of my favorites we've gotten so far.
Oh, this one's anonymous? Oh, okay, it's
So,
going to be good.
question is, how do you feel about working alongside content creators at weddings? These are people who like have iPhones, they're creating reels basically, or social media posts throughout the day. As a planner, so this person's a planner, I'm not a fan, but wondering if you like it and seeing it as a growing trend. What can planners do to make it easier on everyone who's trying to get the shot? Please refer to me as the queen. So this is the queen. Thank you, the queen, for this question. Do we like content creators? Do we think they're good?
Oh my gosh, I love Queen. I love that so much. Content creators.
Yeah.
Yeah. You tell me your thoughts, Tim.
I've only worked with one so far, and she ended up being a lovely human being. And she was also filling in for the makeup artist who bailed that morning of that wedding. So it was super clutch to have her, who am I? To have her on site during the getting ready because she took over.
Wasn't there.
Makeup artist just didn't show up to work that day.
That's
so
a complicated
isn't
one.
that wild? So she was a saving grace in that regard. I don't think she got as much content as she would have wanted.
Sure.
But she was
doing
checking
some
in
jobs.
with us constantly. She works in the customer service space.
Okay.
She understands kind of what photographers and videographers need on a wedding day, I think. Yeah. And that is the number one thing I think you need to look out for as a photographer, a videographer, or a wedding vendor if you're a planner. Make sure that they know kind of that they are there to capture the very behind the scenes of a day. Even though they may be doing some cool trendy reels like the flower thing where the flowers go in front of the camera and then they come back and it's my wedding day as opposed to your wedding day. Those reels exist. They're fun. They're great. I love that they're doing those, but they cannot get in the way of the, I don't want to say more important, but it is kind of more important aspects of the day when it comes to people you've spent thousands of dollars on to capture the day through photo and video. Those are big moments.
It's certainly more important. There is a hierarchy.
I think so. There should be, right? Like it feels weird to say that, but there kind of is at this stage in that game. Like there's not really a...
And I think your clients would like for everybody involved to understand the hierarchy.
Totally.
Like I have had clients that have told me, like we told the videographer, like, you have to just listen to what Lindsay's asking you to do, especially in the scenario of like clients that have maybe hired a videographer that's just starting out. They go and spend like thousands of dollars on their photographer and then they get like $1,000, friend promo rate for a guy that's just trying to figure out how to do video.
Yeah.
There's definitely a hierarchy and there has to be, especially when it comes to who is taking the lead, who's going to be directing this show, who's going to be telling us what to do.
Yes.
We can't all be looking in different directions.
Yeah.
That's not going to be effective. So there's a few different factors obviously that come into play.
Yeah.
The second you bring in another body, I think you get eyes darting all over the place in group photos and whatnot. Listen, I'm kind of here for it. I'm sorry, Queen.
No, it's great.
I'm sorry the Queen doesn't like it. It's probably just another person for the Queen to manage, which I think would be really freaking annoying as a planner. It's like, oh, another one of you like the photographer and videographer weren't a big enough pain in my butt. Now I have to manage a content creator. And a content creator, like in my experience, I've not worked with a full-time content creator yet.
Mine was part-time as well.
Right.
I think
somebody
it was very
whose
part-time.
being at weddings is their full-time gig.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that yet. So there is certainly a level of experience and professionalism that's going to be lacking in comparison to the team that is doing
Running
this
the show
every single
and doing
weekend,
this every weekend.
right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
So there are some factors there. As with anything, hire the best one that you can, hire the best one your budget allows. Acknowledge that it may impact your overall experience of enjoying your day negatively.
Yeah.
If you are a content creator yourself as the bride or groom, it's probably important to you to have this person. Like, I have had clients that are content creators, and then I'm the one taking over the role of like, okay, you wanted to do what reel now? So I do like all the bridesmaids photos, and then they tell me what TikTok that they want to do. And I'm there trying to do that. Do you know how stressful that is?
It's a lot.
Like, that's a lot for me. It's a lot for the videographer, because I think that there is a space for the videographer to, if the client says, hey, there's this like trending TikTok we want to do, but we want it to slap. That can't be done on a phone. Like, we need it to be like Hollywood level,
next level,
levels of polished. Then that should be part of your negotiation with your videographer, if that's something that they can do for you.
If you're a photographer, videographer, and you see this as a market, something you could do, if you have a second or someone you like working with, bring them in as part of your package. You could use this as your advantage.
That's what I would say. I would say, instead of getting bitter, get paid.
Yeah.
Like, start making some money off this.
Absolutely.
I've seen planners that have done this, that have started offering it as part of their offerings because they don't want people getting in their way. I've seen photographers offering it as part of their offerings. I have certainly considered bringing it in as part of my own offerings.
Yeah.
I don't like managing more people than I already have to manage.
It's a lot.
So I haven't added it in yet. I did kind of want to see how last year went, to see how
many people jumped on.
how important it was to my clients. And if it becomes something that's really important, then I'll figure out a way to bring it out to them.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. Great answer.
I think that you do a lot of like content creation type stuff. It's obviously not on a phone, and you're not doing like the classic behind the scenes and like, you know, doing with a phone, like of the flowers and stuff like that. But you make reels for people. You make social content for people.
I do. Yeah.
So that's part of a videographer's package already, is let's take the video we've already made that is really high quality and great resolution and then let's make it into something. The really nice thing here, and I think it's a different thing just for videographers, is that you, as a video person, when you're delivering like a final wedding project, you can't use licensed songs. I still don't understand how we're getting away with this on Instagram, but we are all using licensed material by just like pulling up a song. And so long as Sony doesn't pull it off, which they do every once in a while, right? Yeah. Like, you can keep doing that. So it is kind of a fun way to have, you know, your favorite song, your first dance song, whatever, incorporated into your wedding video. I personally would lean more on investing more with the vendors that you already have instead of adding more people in, because it can just be really overwhelming for most people to have such a squad.
Another body on the day. Like, we try to be minimal as possible when we can. We don't work with seconds because we feel like the venues we most frequently work at allow for us to be minimal photographers, videographers. We can get things done quickly, efficiently. We don't have a lot of places to travel to. Everything's kind of contained in one area. So having a fourth person there on the day if need be, what a nightmare. But also,
and a fourth person that doesn't know. Listen, I'll be the first person to say, I am not good at not fucking. No, I'm not. I'm not good at not fucking up video moments. Oh yeah, I'm not. No, especially as the person that's usually directing, because I don't know. I'm like, go, 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 go. I'm already thinking of the next shot that I need, and Tim's like, I'm literally in the middle of trying to get this like nice static shot, and you just walked right on through it. Or talked right through it.
That's the one.
Right? Like, because I just immediately will say, okay, we're moving on. Because to me, like, I got the shot. I was done there. Yeah. It's taken me a lot lot of time.
No, I think I've gotten better. You've come a long way.
Years. It's taken me years to get good at that. Yeah. Because
you want to be efficient. You want to get things going. You want people to not think about what's happening. They want them to just go into the flow.
Before I was medicated for ADHD, to be honest with you.
We need to come up with a communication device going forward for next year, because we have a few weddings together. And we should like
get little headsets in.
Little headsets. But no, the Queen, thank you so much for this question. Mm-hmm. We can all share and we can all adapt. It's a new world.
Let's all learn.
Brave. and we can all,
Get
grow
our
together.
elbows out.
Yeah, but friendly elbows and link them together.
Would be great.
Yeah.
That's a nice idea.
Lindsay, this is a great episode. We're
This was
really good
so
at
nice.
advice. Should we cheers? This is wonderful.
Wow, we're so good at our jobs.
If you have questions, feel free to reach out to us at the Shoot the Shot podcast on Instagram. Send us a DM. Send us a
It's
voice
actually
note.
the Shoot Your Shot podcast.
The Shoot Your Shot.
Shoot Your Shot, not
Your.
not the Shoot the Shot. That would not get you 2 hours.
Just read the name of this episode
Yeah,
and,
the
and
shoot-
podcast
the-
name.
the Shoot Your Shot podcast would be the one you wanna go to.
It's only episode 4. So give us some grace. Listen, I had fun today. Thank you so much for everyone for listening, watching,
Thank you all for
subscribing,
being
liking,
here.
commenting. Love to hear from you. Thanks for being here.
You're
See you
awesome.
We'll see you next time. You're awesome.